Are you ready to take off but feel weighed down? Just like a plane can't soar with too much baggage, we can't grow when we're carrying fear and unforgiveness. That's where Fear and Forgiveness, a 16-day devotional and fasting journal, comes in. This book was created to help you release what's holding you back and move forward. Whether you use it as a standalone devotional or pair it with fasting, these 16 days will transform your heart, mind, and spirit. It's time to let go and rise higher. Grab your copy of Fear and Forgiveness today at barnesandnoble.com. Welcome to the G.L.O.E podcast, where we talk all things God, life, the ups and downs, organization, because chaos is not cute, and entrepreneurship, aka chasing those dreams. Here, we glow boldly and live purposefully. I'm your host, Angel, and around here, we keep it real, mixing faith, strategy, and a few laughs along the way. Whether you're trying to get your business together, organize your life, or just need a little motivation, you're in the right place. If you've been hanging around for a while, welcome back, and I hope you bought a friend. If you're new here, welcome. Get comfy and stay a while. Today, I am chatting with Amber, aka B Channel, and that stands for Blessings, Edifying, and Encouraging Others to Live Their Best Lives. Amber is a caregiver, blogger, and a podcast. Some of her favorite topics to talk about are faith, caregiving, relationships, and content creation. Her mission with her platform is to spread the love, light, and hope of God with every post. Let's welcome Amber to the show. Hi, Amber. How are you?
Hey, how you doing?
I'm doing good. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Is there anything else you'd like to share before we get started?
I'm just happy to be here and just have this conversation. I'm pretty sure some more things will come up, as we go in.
All right, awesome. Well, so Amber and I connected. Correct me if I'm wrong, Amber. I think we were introduced to someone, correct? We were introduced through someone, correct?
Yes,
Okay.
Rachel.
Yes, that's right, Rachel. Okay, I try to remember how I connect with people and I try to share it on my podcast from time to time when I remember. So I'm very happy that Rachel connected us and I'm happy to have you here sharing your story. So, how did you get into content creation and how long have you been doing it?
It kind of was something that it began when I was on this weight loss journey, probably 8 years ago. And
Okay.
I had lost a bunch of weight, and then people at work, they were asking me, "Oh, how did you do it?" And then it was like, you should make videos about it. And so, I started making videos about it, but it just seemed like not really people didn't really watch it that much or whatever. But I just started talking about that. And then it kind of just morphed into me just encouraging people. And then when 2020 came about, with the pandemic and everything, all of us are home. So about April of 2020, I started getting on TikTok and just, encouraging people on there, singing, doing poetry, all kind of things. I like to do those duets with people and
Okay.
the producers and just kind of flow and just have fun with it. And so I, trying to get back into doing more Christmas duets. I did a couple of those recently. But yeah, just encouraging people because I felt like it was just so many people that I encountered that were going through depression. And I just feel
Mm.
like the world needed more of light, more hope, and more of that just inspiration to keep going on a regular basis. So I started talking on there more. And then I've done blogs and podcasts in the past, but 2022, I kind of started over and was like, okay, as far as the podcast is concerned, I will talk about books that I read in my quiet time because I don't really see people having podcasts where they actually talk about books, faith-based books and things
Right.
like that. So I was like, let me just review those and tell people what I think about those and just recommend some things that I've been reading. And that's kind of how that started again. And then I was like, okay, you know what? I'm going to start having conversations with people because my friend from college, she was like, I want to be on your podcast. I was like, okay, we can do that. And I just started having more conversations from there. And as far as the blog, it was I was talking about weight loss at first and stuff on the blog and just things that I learned from exercising and things like that. And then it just started being more kind of more of a devotional tone than, going through the caregiving journey and the content and all that kind of stuff just kind of is like something I really love to talk about. Like you said earlier, those things, relationships, content, caregiving, and faith, and that's kind of what I talk about now.
Okay. Okay, cool. Okay, so you said that you started with well that you had like book reviews. Can you share a couple of your favorite like books with us or books that you think have been really inspirational or motivational to you?
Yes, I would say The Garden Within by Dr. Anita Phillips. That has been a great book that I read. And all the Tony Evans ones, The Power of God's Names, The Power of the Holy Spirit's Name, The Power of Jesus's Name. Those were really good. And just books that I read by like Kiara Sheard. She had a book called Big Bold Beautiful or something like that. And I have so many different ones.
Okay.
Like yeah,
Who was the
so
last one you said? Kiera who?
Kiara Sheard.
Okay.
You know, the Clark sisters, Karen Clark Shear's daughter.
Okay, got you, got
Yeah.
you.
Mhm.
Cool. All right. And you said The Garden Within. Tell me who that one was by again.
By Dr. Anita Phillips.
Okay, I'm gonna have to check these out. So thank you. I'm over here write them down so I can look
Yes.
them up as soon as I finish. If not, I'll forget about them. So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, you're
So
welcome.
the videos kind of came first, and then you kind of went into blogging from that, and then podcasting.
Yes. Yes,
Okay.
I just was like I was just having a conversation with my friend and we were talking about relationships and I called it these Christian dating streets, right? And then I found this guy to talk to on this audio app I go live on. And so we decided to have a conversation called These Christian Dating Streets from the men's perspective. So I have both of those. Anybody wants to check
Okay.
that out.
Okay. I love it. I love it. And okay, so you started off with your weight loss journey, kind of documenting that. And then I
Mhm.
also know that at some point in time you shifted over to being a caregiver. So when you shifted over to being a caregiver, did you stop documenting your weight loss journey then and switch over to being a caregiver? And how did becoming a caregiver like change the way you created content?
Oh my goodness, that's such a great question because initially my dad, he was a stroke survivor. And for anybody out there that knows somebody with the irregular heartbeat called AFib, that
Mhm.
heartbeat issue can cause someone to have a stroke. So just for anybody out there, make sure y'all get that checked out if y'all have AFib. Um, but he started having strokes like circa 2012, 2013. And he got better and everything like that. And then he got hit by a car in 2017.
Oh
So
wow.
that began like this long journey of me and my mom taking care of him. And so that was yeah, about 12 years from 2012 to 2024. Like just in October of this year, we lost him.
I'm sorry to
So
hear that.
thank you. And
Yeah.
so that's been like it really shifted how I did things because first of all with the content, when you're taking care of somebody, that comes first. So everything that I was able to do, it had to be done in the margins. So you really had to
Mhm.
like really buckle down with your time management, like, okay, and be intentional about what you're like putting out there. Like in terms of like you're always kind of intentional, but it's like it just made me more focused. Like, okay, what do I really want to say in this blog? What kind of conversations do I really want to have when it's podcast? Like, you wanted to have the most impact for your time, right? And so that's kind of what I had to focus on going forward. Like, okay, it was more writing about how I felt about the situation and I know this is coming out in next year. This we're in
Well,
2024 December when we're recording this. But this week I'm actually writing a blog about um what it's like to grieve during the holidays. And originally
oh,
it was going to be about caregiving, how that's like what that's like during the holidays, but I had to incorporate that, because it I wrote that months ago. So I
mhm.
had to change it and be like, okay, I'm going to talk about what it's like to grieve during the holidays because I know that's something that a lot of people are dealing with right now as we approach Christmas and just so many different people out there struggling, really hurting right now. So I really wanted to talk about that. And I like to try to have those candid, transparent moments about what life is really like as far as grief, end of life, hospice, all of those things that I experienced. So yeah.
Okay. Well, definitely make sure that you send me the link to that article because even though we're recording in 2024, I'll make sure to put it in the show notes so that people can check out the article if they're interested in it because I'm sure there'll be a lot of people that will be interested in that. I know my mom's mom, my grandmother, we lost her. We're recording on the 17th of December, so tomorrow the 18th will be a year since we lost her. And
Oh,
so
wow.
yeah, and so her funeral was the day before Christmas Eve.
Oh my
So even
goodness.
though, there was the first holiday, like my mom and her siblings, they had the first holiday without her. I think at that time it was still kind of like surreal to them because it had just happened. And so I'm kind of more so looking at this as being like their like first holiday when it's really gonna like hit them hard
Yes.
without her
Yes.
being here. I think that's definitely like a good article. And I know someone else who she lost her father, I think a couple of weeks before Christmas, or maybe like a week or so before Christmas. I know a lot of people who have lost loved ones like during the holiday time. So I know that's kind of like, I guess, a double hit because
Right.
you're losing them and then it's the holiday season, so you were probably maybe like already prepping for them to be there for the holiday, so that's probably like a double hit. And then I know there are people who obviously haven't lost relatives or family members or someone that they love around the holiday season, but this may be their first holiday without them, or even if it's their 10th holiday, it's still something that they're going through. So I would definitely love to link that in the show notes.
Yes, absolutely. I'll make sure I make a note to send that to you,
Okay.
when it comes out.
Okay, awesome,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah.
Is Oh, go ahead. Okay.
And then also, I think, that same day, I'm doing a podcast episode with someone, and we're talking about faith-fueled writing, so
Okay.
I say that on over too.
Okay, yes, please. Yeah, definitely do. And that actually brings me to my next question that I was going to ask you is, so how does your faith play a role in your content creation?
I think that it makes me move with more integrity and be more intentional, like I was saying, because it's like I don't want to just be telling you something and I'm not like out here trying my best to live that out. And like it convicts you as well because you're like, okay, I'm saying all this stuff, but I want to actually live it. I want to breathe that, right? So that's something that it keeps you humble. When you
Okay.
talk about faith, you can't just be like, "Oh, forgive people," and then you out here being raggedy, you know?
Right.
So it's
Right.
like it caused you to really think about how you're moving because you don't wanna just say these things and be like, doing something different?
Okay. I got you. Yeah, that makes sense. Have you ever had to, or have you ever like turned down being on someone's podcast or like guesting on a blog or something along those lines due to your faith?
No, and honestly, I think that sometimes when it comes to faith circles, people will, like, turn down things, but I feel like this, you might be missing that one person, you might be all the Jesus they ever get. So I think that you need to
Mm.
like really lean into those moments where you can go out into the world and not just be in your bubble because everybody in your bubble, hopefully they know God, but you want to reach people that have never heard of him and take it to different places. Like, Paul was like really big on that in the Bible. He was like, yeah, we have these churches here, but he was trying to go everywhere. He was trying to get global with it, right? So it's like we have to just go, not be afraid to go to those places because I love that. Like when I see people like BB Winans or something, they'll just go to something like you wouldn't expect to see them. Like he was on Motown Christmas, and I'm like, oh, I wouldn't expect them to see him at like a soul, a celebration of soul in Christmas.
Right.
So it was like, okay, yes, go there. Like, don't just compartmentalize yourself to being in your corner as far as people that know God, like go somewhere else and talk about God because otherwise it's gonna be just like a little secret. You don't want God to be a secret.
Right. That's true. Okay. I've never heard it explained like that. I usually hear, people saying that they turned down something because it didn't align with their faith or something along those lines, but I've never heard it that way before. So I like that. Like that.
Yeah, hopefully, I'll have more opportunities. I wrote on one blog so far, but it was a Christian blog, and that was a great opportunity to be able to do that. And as far as like most of the podcasts have been Christian podcasts, but you never know who could listen. Like it doesn't mean like it's not like the algorithm's like, oh, only show this to Christian people. You know what I mean?
Right,
So
right.
you just have to just go speak where you can. You know.
Right. I agree. And like my podcast isn't like a Christian podcast, but I'm a Christian and I have Christians on here. I have faith-filled people on here. And sometimes the conversation just leads to that. And that's perfectly fine as well because as you said, you never know who needs to hear it or who it's gonna reach and when it's gonna reach them.
Yeah, and I think that was part of the reason for me starting to encourage people on social media as well, because I wanted to be bolder about it. Like he says in Ephesians 6, help me to proclaim the gospel with boldness, even as I'm in chains. Like God wants us to do that. And Paul was like really that like ambassador, like, listen, I might be locked up, but you still gonna get this word up.
I love it. And so with life in like general and stuff, we go through different seasons in life. And that's something that they talk about a lot in scripture. And sometimes our seasons are good, sometimes our seasons are bad, sometimes we're just like, I'm here for it. For you in the season of life that you're currently in, how what type of support do you feel like you need?
I think that one of the most underrated things that people need to learn how to do when it comes to walking through life with people is just to be there, just to listen and not to try to fix or try to like slap spiritual platitudes or cliches on the problem that you're going through. And sometimes you have to explain that to people, even people that are in supposedly that's that spiritual faith space, right? And you're like, okay, like I know, like I had to explain to somebody. I said, listen, I know that I have my heavenly father, but I miss my earthly father. And for the record, that's not offensive to God. So anybody out there that's going through and somebody try to be like, oh, you have your heavenly father. Yes, we do have him, but you had this relationship. If you love that person, you're going to grieve hard because you love that person. So it's not like offensive. God knows you love them. He gave them to you, allows you to have this beautiful experience, this beautiful bond, all these memories with that person. And you're not just going to forget that person. Like I knew my father for 35 years in like 20
Right,
days. I can't just forget him. So
right.
it's like one of
No.
those things where people just have to understand. Just sit with them. Be like Job's friends in that first week. Not the time after that. That first week, they just sat there and they wept. He says, rejoice with those who rejoice and weep with those who weep. Romans 12:15. So we have to learn that. Just sit with people. Be there. Be a
Yeah.
support system. Like, how you feeling today, but don't just keep asking how you feeling though. 'Cause that can
Right,
get old
right,
too. But like just be like, hey, what's going on with you? Just checking on you. See how you doing.
right. Yeah. And, like I said, some people they don't want advice. They don't want you to say anything. They just want an ear to listen. And something that I've tried to be more conscious of and that I try to like ask the people around me to like be more conscious of is that every time I come to you to talk to you about something, I'm not necessarily asking for a solution to my problem. At that moment, I may just need to vent,
Right.
or I just want someone to hear me out and to listen to me. I don't want you to try to solve my problem because you trying to solve my problem is frustrating me even more than whatever the situation was or whatever it was that it was going on. So like a lot of times like I'll tell like my husband or my mom, I'm like, I don't need you to solve my problem. I really just need to vent right now. I need to get this out. I need to get it off my chest. I'm not looking for a solution. I just want to talk about it. Or sometimes they'll be like, okay, I want a solution. Like, what would you do in this situation? And so
Right.
they've been like really good with kind of giving me that space. But I think it's so important because sometimes people say stuff because they feel like saying something is the right thing to say, but
Right.
what they say is the wrong thing, and they don't necessarily mean any harm or anything by it. They just don't know what to say, but we've been so programmed to think that we have to respond to everything and we have to say something to
Right.
everything, and you don't. You really don't. Like
Right.
you said, sometimes someone just wants you to sit there with them and let you cry on their shoulder, or just sit there and or let them, yeah, cry on your shoulder, or just sit there and watch a movie with them, or sit in silence, whatever it is. And I think it's important to ask people, what do you need? How can I help you?
Yes, that's what my therapist said. Hey, Jesus in therapy, shameless plug. And we have to
Yeah,
understand
I'm
that,
here for it.
like when you like she says, like she'll ask people that, like, oh, do you want me to talk as your therapist, or do you want me to talk as just want me to listen? Like you got to
Right.
decide, like and that way they can kind of direct how they going to respond to you. Hopefully, if they willing
Mhm.
to listen what you said, and
Right.
so yeah, that's something that I learned too. And like also it can be very therapeutic. All of the content has been therapeutic for me to keep going, to make something, and of course, as we head into the new year, I'll be taking a break. But content it's a way for me to reach out and encourage people, and it's a way for me to continue my dad's legacy of being an encourager and his love of music. So I like to sing and I encourage.
Okay.
That's how I honor him. So we take your little breaks, your little pauses, but it's like life is what fuels the best content,
Mhm.
living
I
life.
like that. Yes, yeah, definitely. I know one of my favorite content creators, she took a break like over a year ago because I think she was dealing with the loss of her father as well. And she was saying that she had never given herself a chance to grieve. And I really enjoyed her content. I can't think of what her IG handle is, but she would basically like she would take stories from the Bible,
I know who
and
you
she
talk about.
oh, you know what it is? She would create
I
them
think
in
her
like
name starts
modern
with a
day time.
D or something. Don't her name start
A
with a
D,
D?
a D, a E. I think it's like a E, E. Oh, I can't
Aisha
think of.
or something like
Yes,
that?
yes,
Ish.
something like that. Ish. Yes, 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 that's it. Ish. Oh my
I
gosh,
love
I
her.
loved
I
Ish.
actually reached out
Yes.
to her, but I was like, I understand when you going through.
Yeah.
It's like you just need a moment, just be by yourself. Because I
You
actually did
do.
reach out to her about like how like I thought it would be great to talk about laughter even through the grief
Right.
process, right? And how
Yes.
important that is. And but I really love what she does. So I
Me
really
too. Oh
hope
my
she
gosh, I
comes
love it
back.
so. Me too. I reached out to her as well because so one of her videos that she did, it was where she was talking about like the raven and stuff, and she's like, "Ew, the dirty bird." And I remember I went to work one day, like after I saw that. It was like maybe a couple weeks after I saw it, and I went to work one day, and there was a whole bunch of ravens like outside. And I was like, "Ew, the dirty bird." And so I like commented on the post, and I was like, I went to work and saw a whole bunch of ravens, and that's all that I could think about. And I would even show like my son her videos because he enjoyed. Like I'd show him those to kind of bring like the Bible stories and stuff to him and help him relate to him because we would do
Yes.
his we do like his Bible at night. And one time he was asking me like questions about it, and I was like, I don't quite know the answers. I was like, I know who hasn't. I was like, hold 1 second, please. And I went and I found the video. And so for probably like a week straight, and he's like, can we watch one of those videos, please? Can we watch one of those videos? I'm like, heck yeah, we can. And
Yes.
so I know she took a break, and I did reach out to her. I sent her a message, I think at like the top of the year, just not even like asking when she was coming back or anything like that,
Right.
but just saying, I'm thinking about you, I'm praying for you. I hope that all is well and that you're getting like what you need from this break and everything. So,
Yes.
Ish, if you're out there and you happen to hear this, like we're praying
Yes.
for you. We miss you. Like we understand you're going through
Yes.
something, but girl, we miss you. Come back, please.
And
Yeah.
it's so deep that happened before,
Yeah.
like, and then also it's like I feel like I'm kind of in that same seat, like, okay, but
Yep.
I think that is vital that we push through sometimes, and just because that you talking about it could be healing for somebody else. So like
Hmm.
I'll be on Substack and I write notes about grief, and I recognize that people were actually resonating with those notes, and I was like, you know what, that it's important, and people out there are feeling
Right.
the same. So it's like those little moments. You don't have to do this grandiose thing all the time. Like
No.
I could do a micro pod, right? I do
Right.
micro blogs. That's what I like to do. I don't like to have you reading this long dissertation. So you can keep
Right.
going, keep it moving. But just a little bite encouragement, a little
Yeah.
musing, if you will. So that's the
Mhm.
kind of things I like to do, bite-sized stuff. There's not going to take up too much of your time, but sometimes I do have some nice long conversations on the podcast. So, like a couple of them, we was talking about the Bible and it just went crazy, but
Right.
it's fun to just talk and just have conversations and just grow and hear people's stories and things like that. And just it's really good to have that networking and just everybody can relate to what each other is doing because we're trying to do the same thing, going in the same direction.
I agree. Amber, I have enjoyed this conversation so much. Thank you again so much for coming on. Would you please one, is there anything else that you'd like to share? And then two, would you please tell everyone how they can connect with you and where they can find you at?
I think that is vital on this topic of content creation to understand that you have to move at a pace that works for you, not what other people want you to do, not how other people want you to do it. You have to do what you feel inspired by God. Like let God be a guiding star in terms of what you're trying to do. And like that's important because otherwise you'll just do all this stuff because you think you should be doing all this stuff. Understand and hear me clearly. It's about that one person, the power of one. So whoever's out there that you can bless, reach, and resonate, that's the person you want to connect to that really needs what you have to say. Whatever it is that you have to say, it's important. So like we have to understand the power of our words and just our voice when we're doing this content and just be intentional, have fun, take breaks, but just really it's important to just love yourself through that process and don't just feel like you have to get these certain numbers. And so I just want to let y'all know that let that be your gentle reminder to woosah on the journey and just be you and have fun with it. And that's what I'm trying to work on. Having more fun, you
Right.
know.
Yeah, let loose, have fun with it. It's cool. So where can everyone find you at? How can they connect with you?
You can find me at B Channel 27 on Instagram. That's BEECHANNEL 27. And I'm sure she'll have the T link below in the description. But
Yes.
that's where you can find me at on Instagram. That's the easiest place. And my link trees and all my bios on my socials. So that's where you can find the rest of the socials.
Okay. Yep, and I will definitely have all of that linked in the show notes. Well, Amber, thank you again so much, and I hope that you enjoy the rest of your evening.
Thank you so much for having me. It was fun.
You're welcome. Yes, it was. I enjoyed myself. That's it for today's episode of the G.L.O.E podcast. Thanks for tuning in. I hope you're walking away with something that fuels your journey. And remember, glow boldly, live purposefully, and I'll talk to you next time. Loving the G.L.O.E podcast? Let the world know. Head over to Apple Podcasts and leave a 5-star rating and review. It helps more amazing listeners like you find the show and gets us featured in other shows' recommendations.